The Debt Management Office has announced the successful of the federal government of Nigeria saving bond for 2025 with a total allotment of 4.27 billion naira. According to data published on the DMO official website, the bond were offered between July 7 and July 11, 2025. Welcome to Business Point. It's a program that extracts the Nigerian economy and the government policies. I am Kike Lomo Ukeri. The 2-year bond due to mature on July 16, 2021 was allotted at a coupon rate of 15.76%. It was issued at 16.762% coupon rate. The 2-year bond received 853.822 million naira in total allotment with 1,008 successful subscription. Bond will have quarterly coupon payment schedule for October 16, January 16, April 16, and July 16 each year. Setting dates for both bonds were July 16, 2025, marking the official commencement of the investment period for subscribers. The July 2025 allotment is higher than the 4.01 billion naira recorded in June 2025 auction. The bond was issued at 1,000 naira per unit, with a minimum subscription of 5,000 naira and a multiple of 1,000 naira thereafter, up to maximum subscription of 50 million naira. Here are some highlights. The 16.762% interest rate represents a decrease from June 2025 when the rate stood at 17.12% per annum for 3-year bond. Similarly, this 2-year bond rates declined to 15.762%, down from 16.12% in June. This is likely driven by the Central Bank of Nigeria decision to retain the policy rate at 27.5% in the recent months. The federal government of Nigerian saving bond program introduced in 2017 was designed to deepen domestic bond market, promoting financial inclusion and offer retail investors access to secure and low-risk government security. The FDN bond qualifies as an approved investment under Trustee Investment Act and is also recognized as a government security under both Government Income Tax and Personal Income Tax Act. This makes it eligible for tax exemption by pension fund and other qualified institution investors. Furthermore, the bonds are listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, providing investors with the option to trade them on the secondary market and enhancing overall liquidity. Also qualify as liquid assets. Over the years, FDN saving bonds have become increasingly popular among Nigerians for a safe and predictable investment option amid concern over inflation and volatile. This government-backed bond offers stability and consistent returns. The Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue, Dr. Zach Adedeji, has charged the Accountant General of the Federation, Samsudeen Ogunjimi, to ensure prompt deduction and remittance without tax of ministries, departments, and agencies to appropriate government coffers. He spoke at a 2-day workshop in Abuja on the collaboration between the service and other government agencies for efficient tax administration in the country with the theme enhancing tax compliance. Adedeji stated that the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation has the role in financial control and disbursement across NDAs, which stands out as a pivotal partner in effort to improve tax compliance, accountability, and ultimately Nigerian revenue generation performance. Despite the technological advance with some stakeholders, Adedeji says the service continues to observe lapses in withholding tax deduction, VAT remittance, and stamp duty administration from the NDA space. He noted that this gap, many of which due to technical limitation and deficits on tax compliance requirements, result in significant revenue losses and recurrent audit issues. He says the workshop is not just an opportunity to share knowledge, but a strategic turning point to co-design solutions that will close the existing gap and build a smart and more efficient and technological-driven tax compliance culture in Nigeria. In his remark, the Accountant General of the Federation, Samsudeen Ogunjimi, described tax as a lifeblood of every economy that in Nigeria. It remains a fiscal priority and national imperative. He says the appropriate collaboration between the two institutions could build a robust tax system that will support the nation's economic growth and deliver the promises of good governance. The federal government electricity tariff subsidy jumped from 610 billion naira in 2023 to 1.94 trillion naira in 2024. This represents a 219.67% increase in yearly subsidy funding despite the Band A tariff hike of April 2024. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and analysts observed that the subsidy figure rose following the float of Naira by President Bola Tinubu in June 2024, as well as removal of fuel subsidy, leading to a high inflation rate. According to NEC, the federal government incurred a total electricity tariff subsidy of 1.94 trillion naira in 2024 to cover the shortfall between the cost reflective tariff and actual tariff approved for customers. It was reported that the federal government paid only 371.34 million naira out of the 1.94 trillion naira subsidy obligation for 2024. This translates to 0.019% settlement. It is important to note that due to the absence of the co-reflective tariff across the DISCOs, that is distribution companies, in 2024, the government incurred a subsidy obligation of 1.94 billion naira, that is 62.59% of total NBET invoice during the year under review, which translates to an average of 161.85 billion naira per month. This subsidy obligation of the federal government is largely attributed to the FD's policy to freeze allowed tariff paid by customers despite the increase in cost-reflective tariff, according to the 2024 report. But the 2023 report shows that cost was higher than the amount incurred as subsidies. The NEC annual report for 2023 stated that the cumulative minimum remittance obligation for DISCOs was 52.92%, that is 685.69 billion naira out of 1.29 trillion naira NBET invoice, meaning the government incurred a subsidy obligation of 610.06 billion naira, that is 47.08% of total NBET invoice. In 2024 annual report, NEC explained that government undertook to fund the gap through tariff shortfall provision, particularly after freezing customers' tariff at December 2022 level. According to reports, the freeze persisted despite a sharp in co-reflective tariff driven by macroeconomic pressure, especially foreign exchange volatility. It explained that the subsidy obligation surged 633.30 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024, marking 303% increase compared to the quarterly average of 157.15 billion naira in 2023 and a 1,699% rise from 2022 average of 35.21 billion naira following the review of tariff for Band A customers and who accounted for about 40% of the total energy consumed across all discos. The report also shows that there was a 39.99% drop in the subsidy burden between the first and the second quarter. This review reduced the quarterly subsidy of 380.06 billion naira in the second quarter. However, it was learned that the federal government's directive to freeze all customers' rates at July level for the remainder of the year led to a renewed increase in subsidy obligation. NEC recorded a further 84.06 billion naira increase in the third quarter, bringing the total for third quarter to 464.12 billion naira to 471.69 billion naira, indicating an additional 91.63 billion naira. The commission stated that although allowed tariffs were frozen, cost-reflective tariff continued to rise due to prevailing microeconomic condition. It was stated that the subsidy were applied only to generation costs payable by distribution companies to Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC under a remittance framework known as DISCO remittance obligation, which replaced the previous minimum remittance obligation framework from January 2024, and it required DISCO to pay 100% of their DROs. The transition was said aimed to avoid subsidy debt from distorting DISCO's balance sheet and preventing them from raising critical infrastructure funding. All right, let's take a quick short break. We'll be right back. Don't worry, stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Business Point on Global Television. It's a program that extracts the Nigerian economy and the government policies. The Port Terminal Multi-Service Limited Command of the Nigerian Customs Service says it has begun receiving cargo from China and other East country, expanding its trade reach beyond the traditional Europe and American route. Tenny Daniel, Area Controller of the command, who made this known this week, says this reflects growing confidence in the terminal capacity following months of digital operation under the Bodogo trade platform. Since its rollout in November 2024, the Bodogo system, a single portal for trade transaction, has facilitated up to 301.89 billion naira in transaction at PTML. This amid some early technical challenges. PTML, the designated pilot command for Bodogu, processed 52 vessels, received 13,431 containers and conducted 30,400 cargoes assessment in the first quarter of 2025. Daniel says it maintains Nigerian fastest clearance system of 2 hours, but only applies to import declaration made with integrity. So far, it has attained 90% stakeholders utilization of the Bodogu through regular practical training for customs officers and agents in line with the directive from the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency has shut down Shell Plugs and TMDK terminals, two petroleum product storage and logistic depot in Ijebu-Egba area of Lagos over persistent breaches of international port security standard. NIMASA says the two facilities which operate in Nigerian downstream oil distribution network had consistently failed to comply with the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code, despite receiving multiple formal warnings. The agency, which is Nigerian designated authority for implementing the ISPS code, says the enforcement was carried out in line with the section 79F of the ISPS code implementation regulations 2014, which mandates closure of any non-compliance facility after 3 months of sustained violation. The ISPS code developed by International Maritime Organization as part of the SOLAS Convention sets global standard for maritime and port security, particularly for facilitating involving the international trade. Both facilities manage bulk storage and distribution of fuel like petrol, diesel, and other white products, serving both wholesale and retail market through depots, haulage, and filling stations. NIMASA says operations will remain suspended until full compliance is achieved. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical has uncovered a fresh racket involving some of its affiliates, marketers, and strategic partners who have been diverting subsidized refined petroleum products for profit, prompting the suspension of the refinery discounted fuel supply scheme. Investigations by the refinery reveals that the certain marketers who were granted discount products meant to ensure affordability and steady supply across retail outlets had been routing the loaded trucks to unregistered third-party marketers. The scheme was originally designed to support Dangote's registered affiliates marketers in achieving stable profit margin amid price competition from fuel importers, while also guaranteeing nationwide availability of the refinery products. However, marketers were found to be circumventing the distribution chain by allowing importing non-registered marketers to pick up products from the refinery using their authority to collect loading tickets. This allowed them to cash in on the price differential without incurring legitimate costs associated with logistic, retail station administrative compliance, marking fast profit. The refinery noted that divert products were often sold at market rates far above agreed subsidy, far above subsidized price, undermining the core objective of the scheme and distorting the downstream market. However, the refinery directed the suspension of its discount scheme for its customers with effect from July 13, 2025. The latest directive was disclosed in a letter to all strategic partners signed by the Group Executive Director, Commercial Operation, Fatima Dangote, says the company has launched the discounted pricing scheme to ensure nationwide access to affordable and clean petroleum products. An abuse of the arrangement had become spread with erring partners. The refinery, however, gave certain concessions to ensure continued offtake of products, noting that all outstanding product release notes issued at the discount partners rate will remain valid for loading. Also, any partners who had completed payment process before the effective suspension dates will still receive products at the agreed discounted rate. Furthermore, the company reiterated that all retail stations must continue to adhere to the recommended price to ensure uniformity and prevent further market distortion. Alright, this is where we'll call it a wrap on Business Point. Join me again on Monday on Global Television, 65 on DSTV and 276 on Star Time. To stay connected, kindly follow us on all our social media platforms at Global TV NG. Till I come your way again, I am Kike Lomo Okewi. I celebrate you all.